All right, so let's see how this goes. All right. Come on, there we go. Okay. So, here is the Suited Shootist and our first live stream. So, this should be kind of interesting, kind of entertaining. We'll see how it goes. I've actually got my computer over here, so when the comments do start rolling in, then if my focus shifts, that's what's going on. I'm not ignoring everybody. I'm trying to keep up with as much of this as I really can. So let's see. I guess while we're waiting for folks to join in, one of the things that has been a very popular topic over the last week or so, especially with everybody at home because of their respective lockdowns and all such thing. People are starting to get very protective of their property. And I would just encourage you to, since you got the time, go ahead and actually look up whatever your local statutes are in terms of justifiable use of deadly force against property. Because there's a lot of folks out there that seem to have, they're under the impression that they have a much stronger idea of what those regulations are than they actually do. Okay, good. I see we got some folks actually jumping in here. So audio's coming through okay. Somebody throw up a thumbs up, make sure that you can hear me. There we go. Thank you so much. Okay. So yeah, so that's kind of what we're looking at there. Of course, on the internet, you're going to see all the standard kind of memes floating around, people joking about shooting looters and all that kind of stuff. I get it. I mean, you know, again, I've got pretty dark humor as well. Just be careful about that kind of stuff because it can come back and bite you in the ass. And Masad Ayub and Andrew Branca both talk about instances where social media activity has become problematic in the defense of a use of force. So just kind of watch what you're posting on online, because a lot of us are spending more time on social media than we normally otherwise would. The books are cheap insurance. Andrew Branca's Law of Self-Defense, and then Masad Ayub, I believe his most recent one is Deadly Force, but he's written a bunch of different stuff. So definitely just something to kind of be cognizant of. Other than that, let's see here. All right. So this was supposed to be kind of a AMA type thing. So if anybody's got any questions, feel free to throw them in, because you know, this is again kind of the first foray into this, and I wanted to see you know, what is kind of present on everybody's mind at this point. It doesn't necessarily have to be directly about anything firearms related. Obviously, that's kind of where my major interest lies, but whatever you got, you know. I'm just chilling Sunday morning, having a coffee. So let's have some fun with this. I'm seeing that we're starting to get some folks jumping in here. So who we got? Oh, come on, y'all. Don't be shy. Otherwise, it's just going to be me yammering at the camera for however long until I run out of gas or run out of coffee. So let's make this a little bit interactive. So another conversation that seems to be coming up a lot in kind of tangential gun threats is, again, you've got a lot of folks that are looking to purchase their first defensive firearm. And how do you guys have that conversation with people if you see that they're starting to veer off onto a path that is not necessarily the best option for them? Because a lot of folks are getting their information from Hollywood, and most of the stuff that we see on screen only works because the script said so. So you see a lot of people that are buying shotguns that, while effective, are not nearly as easy to operate as most people think. Stuff like that. So do you just let people make the mistake? Do you try and politely suggest that there might be another alternative? I know what I've had be successful for me, but I'm very curious to hear what else has maybe been some other tactics that people can use and can leverage. So again, feel free to chime in here. I'm not seeing any comments come through yet on the thread, so let's see what we got. Nobody? I mean, if I have to, this will just be, you know, my version of Nick Offerman's sitting in front of a fireplace and quietly sipping coffee for 35, 40 minutes. But I don't see that being super entertaining or super useful. So, yeah, again, what questions do you guys have? What's something that you would like to see me address? Because, again, this is really an opportunity to get some real-time feedback from you guys. And so I'm very interested to get that input and see kind of who's doing what. And yes, I have a New York reload for my coffee, which, by the way, is courtesy of my buddy Chris over at Roasters Marketplace. So I know I've talked about him a few times. If you haven't checked him out yet, I very strongly recommend that you do. Number one, he's just a solid dude. He is one of us. He's kind of part of that training community and part of the whole Second Amendment space. And it's also just really good coffee. I wound up kind of turning into a coffee geek 4 or 5 years ago at this point, and I have just been delving deeper and deeper down that particular rabbit hole. So that's another pastime and interest of mine, is all things culinary. So food, cocktails, coffee, that kind of stuff. If anybody has anything on that vein that they'd like to talk about, again, feel free to jump in. This is not going nearly as well as I had hoped. So I may end up just killing this in a couple of minutes and kind of doing a more traditional video, because I don't think that we're really getting the participation that this format is really well suited for. So again, you know, we've got a few folks watching right now. If there are any questions that you'd like answered, otherwise I've just kind of been musing about some stuff that I've seen go on over the past week. I'd like to get a little bit of back and forth going. Otherwise, I'll probably just go and get a regular video filmed. So let me know what your thoughts are, because I just want to make sure that what I'm putting out is entertaining and it's useful to you guys. So If this isn't, cool, gave it a shot, no big deal. But yeah, so let me know what your thoughts are. All right, come on, who we got? Nope. Okay. Yeah, so again, we got a couple new folks joining us. Hasn't really been a whole lot of conversation in the thread thus far, but I'm very interested to kind of know who's got what questions. Hasn't been a whole lot of activity on this yet, so if we don't get any conversation going in the next minute or two, odds are I'll probably get this logged off. So again, whatever you got, just throw it at me. Hey, Dave. So, yeah, what questions do you have? Anybody? Bueller. Reading lists. Everybody has a lot more downtime than they have previously. So, definitely a good time to take advantage of that and catch up on any outlying books that you've been kind of entertaining the idea of. I've talked about them before, but I do want to highlight Varg Freeborn's Violence of Mind. Great book to check out. I mean, it's one of the few instances where we have somebody from the other side, literally, who grew up in a violent criminal culture and is documenting his experiences and giving us insight into that. It's very easy to just kind of other that whole population and dismiss them as less intelligent, less sophisticated, less capable, even though that's generally not the case. It really is a user manual in that regard. So I absolutely recommend picking up a copy, and it's some very valuable insight. The other ones that are kind of the regular talking points, Gavin de Becker's Gift of Fear. I think Rory Miller's Facing Violence is also pretty useful. There's a few others that I personally have found to be invaluable on the style side of the equation. Dressing the Man is a great kind of technical manual, but all right, we've lost all of the viewers at this point except for Daniel and Dave. So I appreciate you guys watching, but this clearly is not the best format at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and kill it, but thanks. Appreciate it. Oh, hey, here we go. Slimmer fitting skinny pants. Mine conceal my gun fine, but I'm getting shit for not being able to put my ankle holster that has my tourniquet and other stuff. Should I sit change pants or keep them on as I am? All right, Aaron. Interesting. So what we're looking at is this one is going to be kind of METTC dependent. METTC is a military acronym that they use for mission planning and the different criteria that need to be factored into place. I personally have never been a big fan of the ankle medical kit just because I think that it is a little bulky and you really do need to be wearing either a relaxed or a boot cut for it to not look out of place. It really depends on how much stuff you've got in your ankle med kit. For me, I've found that I'm able to keep a cat tourniquet just in my back pocket, outboard of my wallet, so that way when I sit down I'm not putting any real strain on the windlass. But the reason why I pretty much strictly carry the tourniquet is because the wound pack and the chest seal are arguably a lot easier to kind of hastily configure than an effective tourniquet. When I can get away with it, I will carry the Filster Pocket Medical Wallet as well, which has wound pack and has I don't think it has a chest seal in it. I have to go back and check. But that one's really kind of up to you, because if you really feel like having all of that medical gear on your person is essential, then yeah, maybe tweaking the wardrobe a little bit would be appropriate. You know, maybe going from a real skinny fit to maybe something that's just a slim fit or a straight cut. Obviously, depending on your build, that may or may not be appropriate. But just also think about maybe breaking it up into sections. The other thing that I know a lot of people have had success with is the Filster Flex. It's not anything that I've played with personally yet, but I have a couple friends that speak very highly of it, and it's literally just a panel of this kind of, it's not neoprene, but it's this synthetic web material, and it allows you to position a whole bunch of different stuff and spread it across a wider span of your waistline. So if you're looking for a discreet way to carry a lot of gear, that would probably be something worth looking at. So hopefully that was that gave you something to work with. Since it's kind of just three of us at this point, anything else that you got, Aaron? Oh, okay. Guess he dipped. All right, well, we at least got one. Sure, man. Happy to help. Okay. Well, and we're back down to 2. So, yeah. Who else has what? Style, food. I'm a huge movie geek. Watches. What you want to know. Anybody? All right. Hey, Chris, how's it going? It's been rather uneventful. Aaron had a great question, but other than that, it's just kind of been me yammering at the phone. So, you got anything for me? All right, guys. Well, I think I'm probably going to go ahead and shut this down then. And Aaron, again, thanks for the question. Hope it was useful, and we'll kind of take it from there. So, hope everybody has a great week. And formal smartwatches. Man, that's tough. I haven't really seen one. Smartwatches aren't exactly my bag. I prefer mechanical ones. Criteria-wise, what you're going to want to look for is something that has a smaller face to it. Like this is a 42 millimeter case. It's a sports watch, so typically you're not going to see it worn in formal settings. But I mean, really, even for like a big dude, I wouldn't go more than a 38 millimeter, maybe 40 if it's a thin profile. But again, since you've got all the electronics in it, most of the smartwatches tend to be thicker. It's got to have interchangeable bands because, again, for a formal setting, bracelets have become more commonplace. But really a leather band is what's going to be most appropriate. Danielle, you're saying doesn't Fossil have one? Let's take a look. Fossil smartwatch. I mean, yeah, with the 3 pushers, it's more chrono style, so it's still relatively sporty. I mean, I guess it's really going to depend on how thick it is. You know, top to bottom. It looks like Movado makes one as well, but yeah. Basically, I would say criteria-wise, you're probably going to want something with a slightly smaller face, but obviously that's going to change the functionality of it. You don't want it to be too thick, and you definitely want the ability to change out the bands to preferably something leather, but if not, at least a metal band on it, a metal strap, bracelet rather, so that way you, because yeah, the rubber is just an absolute no-go. So. Like I said, Fossil looks like it might be a viable option, and Movado, which is kind of a fashion brand, seems to make a smartwatch also. But yeah, that one's a little outside my wheelhouse. I've never been the biggest smartwatch fan personally. So let's see here. Let's take a look at the Movado just for hoops and grins. Okay, so it's 42 millimeter, but it is interchangeable strap. That's good. Yeah. Okay. It's not super water resistant, but you know, again, that's not a huge deal breaker, I guess. Let's see. Yeah. Gun to my head, I'd probably go with a Movado. Anybody else got something before we wrap it up? Incidentally, because I mean, looking at those, that Movado smartwatch is at least retail almost $600. The Fossils seem to be, yeah, 400. The other thing to bear in mind is that in a more formal setting, you're likely not going to really need the functionality of that smartwatch, because the idea is that it's either going to be a recreational event where ready access to your emails, texts, and social media would not necessarily be appropriate, or if it is in a real kind of business setting, again, chances are you're either interacting with clients or you're interacting with high-level executives within your office, and your attention likely should be fully with whatever it is that you're doing. So honestly, from a formal event perspective, if the only watch you've got is a smartwatch, I would forego a watch entirely. If you're looking for a new timepiece that is more suitable to formal occasions, there's a lot of really good quality stuff in the $300 to $500 mark that would probably be a more appropriate tool. Now, obviously, it's not going to be a smartwatch, but it would arguably be more suited to that setting. Tissot is a good brand to look at. Hamilton is super popular as well. Seiko has been very highly praised for a while. I've heard kind of secondhand that they've started to have some QA and QC issues, but I only have like one Seiko, and it's an older one, so I can't really speak to that. So yeah, that's kind of my take on the whole thing. Okay, well, I mean, this ran for about 20 minutes, so... Aaron, you got anything else? Otherwise, we're probably going to pack it in. While I know nothing about the Ferragamo smartwatch, I would be willing to venture that you're going to be paying a very high premium just for the Ferragamo name, and maybe if you're really lucky, it would have some decent leather strap options. But no. I mean, honestly, Aaron, if you want to hang out and bullshit and keep throwing questions at me, I'm good. But otherwise, I just I want to make sure that whatever I'm talking about is useful to somebody other than just hearing myself talk. So if you got anything else, feel free to throw it in. It's not like I got anywhere else to go for the foreseeable future, because obviously we're all kind of locked down on this. But Danielle, going back to what you were saying, I mean, I'm sure the circuitry and all that is perfectly acceptable, but I'm willing to venture that you're going to be paying a much higher premium expressly because it's Ferragamo, and you're not going to get any improved functionality over any of the other smartwatches from electronics brands. So, it's one of those where I think Ferragamo makes great shoes. They make fantastic leather goods, but yeah, that's not their space. That's not their expertise. So, again, just one guy's opinion. All right, cool. So, okay, fair. Looks like a real watch. So that's got it going for it. All right. Well, I think that'll about do it. Aaron, I appreciate the questions, and thanks for everybody else that had dropped in. And yeah, so we'll catch you next week. Have a good one.